Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are discussing another Despia variant with D.A.D.I. D.A.D.I. Despia Albaz Dogmatika Invoked. Yeah, I didn't come up with this name. But let's quickly discuss the deck and how it works. So first and foremost, we have light targets, which is really good for Alistair the Invoker, as well as Fallen of Albaz, as well as Despia. Just overall, very, very solid. So instead of playing something like a Gamma or Effect Veiler for our light targets, we are still able to play Ash Blossom. Just one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel in terms of hand traps at the moment. Pretty nice. All in all, it's pretty standard for both the Dogmatika engine and the Invoked engine. The only thing that's really different is the cards that we are playing for the Despia Albaz / archetype deck engine. So let me just quickly do the card by card and explain the choices here. So we have 2 Despia Tragedy, as well as 3 Aluber, 1 Albaz, 1 Dramaturg, and triple branded opening, and 2 Theater for our Despia / branded side of the deck. The reason that we are playing these numbers is because we really only get Albaz off of something like a Titanic Lad that we send to the graveyard, or an Albion, or something along those lines. And we're only playing 2 Tragedy because most of the time we don't really want to see it we don't want to see it as often as something like the Dark Lord Despia deck list, because it just doesn't matter that it's a fairy. But yeah, it's still very useful to have. And then just the 1 Dramaturg, pretty stock standard. As for the Alistair package, it's pretty simple. We're playing the triple Alistair, double Invocation, double Magical Meltdown. That is pretty stock standard. Nothing too unique there. We are also playing in the extra deck in Almirage and a Secure Gardener. Now, the extra deck space is rather tight. In all honesty, there are a few cards that you could cut, but most of this is pretty much what you should be playing, which is why we are only playing the Secure Gardener and the Almirage for our Invoker, as well as the only Link monsters that we are playing. Moving on, we have the Dogmatika package, which is pretty simple. Triple Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Maximus, 1 Nadir Servant, because it's at 1, and then the 2 Punishment. Again, pretty simple, pretty clean. As for the rest of the tech cards, we're running the triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom, Master Duel staple, the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, again, a Master Duel staple. We were playing 2 Allure of Darkness. We're playing a lot of darks. We get a lot of advantage off of drawing cards, and if you end up banishing a Tragedy, it is insane advantage. On top of that, we are playing 2 Super Poly and 2 Called by the Grave. Pretty self-explanatory for that. Moving on to the extra deck, we have 1 Entis to send off of a Nadir Servant or Dogmatika cards. We are playing 1 Mud Dragon of the Swamp and 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon for our Super Polymerization targets. For Invoker, we're also playing 1 Predaplant Drago Stapelia. The reason for this one is because we summon a lot of fusion monsters, and if your opponent has a dark monster, going into this is pretty nice. It's just a negate. Moving on, we have for the Invoked engine, we have 1 Purgatrio, we have 1 Algides, we have 2 Mekaba, and that's it. Not playing any of the other fluff, right? As for the branded / Dogmatika side of the deck, we are playing a Titanic Lad. We are also playing Albion, which can search out a branded spell or trap. And then for the Despia cards, we are playing 1 Despia Q, 1 First Dark Lord. This doesn't get summoned all that often, but it is a very, very nice target for Dogmatika Punishment, so it's worth keeping around. And 1 Proskenian. Again, very similar reason as to why we have this in here. So that is the deck list. Let's hop into some replays and see how this deck performs. Before we hop into the duels, let me just say that over 80% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed. So if you find yourself coming back on the regular, you can always subscribe. And if you end up finding that you don't like the content anymore, you can always unsubscribe later. It's free, it's fun, and it allows me to continue making content for you guys on the daily. So if you like the content, consider subscribing. Anyway, let's hop into the duels. Alright, so I am going to start off with this replay. Now, this one is a loss. I normally don't show losses because it doesn't really tend to showcase the power level of a deck, but this one actually does. Not only does it show the power level of the deck, but it also shows some of the shortcomings as well as some of the strengths of this deck. So let's quickly hop into this. I am actually going second, and they are playing Virtual World. I'm going to try and Ash Blossom their Lily here because I don't want them to get Virtual Worlds into rotation. So if I can prevent them from doing that, it's great. But they drew their Pot of Desires, so it doesn't matter. They go for the Lulu here, and at this point, I literally stand up and go to the bathroom because I know that this is going to take a while. So I'm just going to fast forward through this. They're going to go and make themselves a VFD, just going through the standard combo. They also have a Chuche up, which is pretty nice. However, we do have a way to deal with VFD because of our Super Polymerization. And you'll see that my opponent actually plays this terribly and still ends up winning. But all in all, it's fine. So obviously they're going to go for Shen Shen. Now, real quick, I do want to discuss Shen Shen. This is the problematic card in this matchup because it banishes everything that's sent from the field to the grave. Instead, it gets banished, which is extremely problematic for our deck. And it comes back. It's just a death sentence for us. So getting this into rotation is way worse for us than anything else that they could do. So here they go into their Shen Shen, and at this point, it's basically over. But they are going to go into True King of all Calamities, and notably, of course, they're going to fire off their True King Call Light, but we have the out. I'm going to normal summon the Ecclesia, not get its effect because I can't, and then we are going to fire off this Super Polymerization. Now, we do have a target because all of my monsters are light, all of their monsters are light. We are able to go into Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Now, here's something that's interesting about Mud Dragon. You can't target it. You just can't. It's not possible. Whatever attribute this card is, cards on the field cannot be targeted with that same attribute. So, if its attribute is dark, all dark monsters cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects. So, what does Chuche do? It targets. So it has to target itself because it's the only face-up card for it to target. So he ends up popping his own card, which, yeah, good on ya, Virtual World player. At this point, I'm not doing the greatest because we do have Mud Dragon, and they're just going to bring back this Shen Shen. So there's that. Now here I do make a little bit of a mistake because realistically what I should have done is as soon as this guy came onto the field, I should have called Wind for this so that he can't target it. But it doesn't really end up mattering. They're going to activate their Lulu here, and I'm going to just chain the Dogmatika Punishment because I still have that. So we're going to go Dogmatika Punishment, and I believe I send a Titaniclad here. Oh, no. I have to send a Proskenion because I literally didn't have anything that was big enough for me to send. Bit problematic, but not that big of a deal. Here is where I call Wind, so they can't target with anything else. None of their Virtual Worlds can target. So they just go to the end phase since they're not able to walk over my Mud Dragon with their Lulu. We draw Albaz here, which is very, very nice. So I'm going to call Dark first of all, so that I can't be targeted with something like an Effect Veiler or an Imperm. I thought this could have been Imperm as well. So there's that. They're going to activate their Maxi, which is fine. I don't plan on special summoning. Like I could have gone for Despia Invoked here, but I search out the branded opening instead. So I'm just going to walk into their Lulu and then deal 19 here. So doing kind of okay, but again, Shen Shen just comes back. It could just continually come back. So there's that. Realistically, what I should have done is immediately activated my branded opening in response to this guy coming back. Reason being, at the very least, the branded opening would go to the grave. So if they end up, you know, destroying something or destroying a fusion later down the line, at least we would have had this if they were to destroy by card effect. Notably, however, branded opening only protects monsters or fusion monsters from being destroyed by card effect, not by battle. So that is something to keep in mind. But I'm going to activate my Mud Dragon here to change it to Wind so that the Shen Shen doesn't or can't be targeted while it's on the field, forcing them to go to the battle phase before they can do anything else. So they're going to eventually go into main phase 2 after walking over our Mud Dragon, and here they go into Vermilion Dragon Mech. They're going to activate the Vermilion Dragon Mech, and I'm going to chain the branded opening. Realistically, I don't know if I should have done this, but it does get us Albaz here, so we're going to go for Albaz, search out the Theater. they are going to go for Lily here, special summon Lily in order to special summon back their Lao. Then they will go for Fan here, which is really terrible for me because it banishes 2 of our cards, 1 from the graveyard as well as 1 on the field. We did need that second Aluber so that we could go into Q here, but alas, can't do it. But I top deck the exact card that I needed with Alistair the Invoker. Now, it's not perfect, but it does get us at least something that we need. So we're going to go for Alistair here. We're going to go for Invocation. We're going to banish everything for the Purgatrio. Now, Purgatrio can perfectly get over every card that they currently have on the field, and that's it. It just gets rid of everything, and we can poke in for a bit more damage, but with Shen coming back and Shen being bigger, it's kind of problematic. I activate the field spell here as well. I don't know if this was a good idea, but it could potentially save us. Sadly, we don't have any fusions in the grave, and with Shen being able to just banish the Purgatrio, it ends up being problematic for us. So they're going to banish their Keenlong for a Lily, and then walk into our Purgatrio. I top deck really well as well with this Aluber to search out the branded opening. Here we can go for Q, which we can then turn his attack to 0, and then proceed to the battle phase. Now, at this point, this is really, really problematic for us, because they could just go Chuche here. They could Chuche, pop our card. Realistically, it might be better to go like Shen here, so that this card gets banished. But yeah, they're going to just pop our card. They're going to shuffle back 2 cards. And this is, again, this is really bad from the Virtual World player. Popping this doesn't really do anything, because it does float. But more specifically, they should have just gone Shen here. They could have, summoned Shen. Oh, wait! I forgot. They have a Called by the Grave. That card has been there since turn 1. Now they use it. Awesome. Fantastic. I love Virtual World. So very fun. So at this point, the game is basically over. I have a branded opening, but like no targets. I would have to basically summon during the opponent's end phase in order to get the Dramaturg. So I'd have to special summon the Dramaturg during the opponent's end phase, but I'm currently on 4,200 life. I can't really risk anything. So at this point, I search out the Despia, or the Dramaturg, and then I realize, yeah, it's basically over. I can't really do anything. I could have hoped that I didn't die if they, they didn't have anything. But I know that they had at least, I think, Lily or something. They had a Virtual World in hand, so it was basically over at that point. So, but that shows you the resilience of this deck. It loses to Shen, but literally, if it wasn't Shen, I think I'd end up winning that easily. Alright, so here we are in Game 2, and we are going second once again. Really, not something you want to have. But it's fine, because we are just going to Ash Blossom that Fractal, and they're not going to have an answer to it. Pog. So, we are able to just negate their Fractal, which is huge for us, because they're going to set 2 and pass. We drew a really phenomenal hand, all things considered, and drawing the Aluber just makes everything better, because now we can activate this Allure of Darkness and be totally fine, because we can just banish the Aluber. We actually draw into Fallen of Albaz, so I'm going to banish that one instead, and then I'm going to go 1 for 1, pitching the, or destroying the Infinite Impermanence. So, all in all, a good idea. We're going to go for the Invoker here, and this is pretty standard. I've explained this combo before. We're going to go Almirage to get a Fire into the grave, and then we're going to go into Secure Gardena, which is a Light, allowing us to then fuse into Mechaba. So here we have Mechaba. So we're going to go and activate our Invocation in order to add back the Alistair, which is just added advantage. We're going to set the Super Poly and then proceed to the battle phase. We're going to walk into this Nerval. Nerval's effect is going to activate, but I do have to negate this. I can't really afford for them to get Nerval online. So I'm going to banish their Nerval with our by sending our Aluber and proceed to the end phase. I wanted to keep the Invoker around more so because having extra invocations just in rotation is very, very nice. We're going to let them activate their Pot of Prosperity, no problem. Even though I could negate this, it's not really worth it. They actually add their Gamma to hand here, which is rather interesting. Fractal would have been a much better search here because it gives them extra advantage. They could potentially find another Fractal, which at least potentially could force out a Mechaba. But now I know that they have the Gamma, so I'm like, okay, yeah, send kit, all good, dude. Like, I can't activate anything because as soon as I activate something without another card on field, their Gamma is just going to wreck me. Now, they actually paused here for a really long time before they actually normal summoned the kit, and I feel like they were really, really hoping that I activated Mekaba so that they could Gamma it. But knowing that they have Gamma makes this significantly easier. I just wait for their monster to come down, and then I negate it. It's pretty simple. Now, I do have to use my Invoker, which does suck, but at the very least, they don't really have anything. We do know that they have Kairos in hand, so that is something to at least be concerned about. I'm going to set the call die and then just proceed to battle and dome them for 25. So, they will proceed to main phase 1, and just immediately pass the turn. I don't know why they didn't try and do something here. I guess they figured that the last card in hand was a monster. It's not. So had they actually normal summoned Kairos, it would have gone through. But I guess I could have just, you know, banished a Nerval or something along those lines. All in all, though, it's still, that was just kind of foolish of them. So we're going to actually activate our Ecclesia here to bait out this Gamma. So, yeah, they're going to destroy our card. Not a lot that we can do, but yeah. I did activate the Ecclesia on purpose, just to get rid of the Gamma there. Either way, I could have normaled it, or I could have specialed it. Either way, it's going to bait out a Gamma. So there you go. They're going to activate their Rescue Cat, and I am going to immediately banish that, and that forces the Scoop out of them. Now, I think had they known that I didn't have another monster already in my hand, they probably would have just actually tried to do something with Kairos or something along those lines, but alas, there's only so much you can do, right? Alright, here we are in Game 3 against one of the most underrated decks, I would say, in the current format. So, I am going to start off and get myself Ash Blossomed on my Allure of Darkness. Not that big of a deal, seeing as how we already have Aluber in our hand. So, I'm just going to normal summon the Aluber and get a free search. So, we will Aluber here, we will search out the Fusion spell. We're going to activate the Fusion spell in order to fuse off with Dogmatika Maximus, as well as our Aluber. We will then special summon out our Ecclesia to search out Dogmatika Punishment, and then set the punishment and pass. They're going to go for Raigeki, off the top, feels good. But we're just going to go Q here, we are going to special summon out the Dramaturg, and proceed from there. They're going to go and activate their Dragon Ravine in order to pitch a monster to send a monster. And I'm just going to Ash Blossom that. Don't really want them to get their advantage off of the send there. I think that this is most likely going to be a Dragon Link, not a Dragoonity. So I am going to negate this. This can get them basically full combo, which I really would prefer they not. We're also going to save the Dogmatika Punishment. We could Dogmatika Punishment their Striker Dragon to pop their field spell as well. So, yeah, we will just proceed from here, though. I'm going to normal summon the Tragedy here. The reason being is because I literally couldn't actually summon unless I normal summon the Tragedy. So, I have to normal summon Tragedy and then Fusion summon it into our Striving Venom Fusion Dragon. Then we are able to go for Tragedy's effect in order to search out the Aluber, and then special summon back the Dramaturg. We will proceed to battle and deal quite a hefty amount of damage. Again, we still have the Dogmatika Punishment lying in wait. So they're going to eventually send their Absolouter Dragon in order to search out their Striker, or Rocket Tracer. I'm going to allow them to pop a card, and then at this point, I just Dogmatika Punishment, send Entis, pop their entire field, and they do actually go for a Chaos Dragon Levianeer here, but because they don't have any lights in Grave, they can only shuffle back the Aluber that we ended up searching, which, again, not that big of a deal, seeing as how we have a Q in Grave as well as Dramaturg and Theater. We're just going to steal the attack of our of the Chaos Dragon Levianeer, not the attack, the name and effect, which literally does nothing, but it's funny. But at this point, we will just proceed to the battle phase, walk in over, or crash, sorry, over the Chaos Dragon Levianeer, special summon back that Q, and then proceed to the battle phase. There you go. Good game. Alright, so here we are up in our last duel, going first once again, and yeah, let's just proceed. Yeah, let's just proceed. We're going to go for Allure of Darkness and draw 2 Ash Blossoms, which is rather interesting, but not that big of a deal. Because we do have our Dogmatika, or sorry, not our Dogmatika, our Aluber. So I'm going to search the Theater. Theater is then going to activate, and they are going to Dimension Shifter here, which is annoying, but not too problematic. It's not that big of a deal for us here. So we are going to just fusion into Despia Q. Now, I'm only playing one Despia Q. If I was playing more, I feel like this would maybe be better. But all in all, this should be enough, right? Mostly, we're hoping to draw into like Alistair and stuff like that. They're going to activate their Summoner Art in order to search out their Cleafort Scout, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll allow it to happen. They're going to activate their Scout, and I am going to negate that by discarding the Ash Blossom. Now, this one doesn't have to be sent to the graveyard, unlike Max C, so we can still activate it even with a Dimension Shifter up. They're just going to normal summon Carrier and then proceed to the end phase. Our turn, we actually draw a Magical Meltdown, which is way better. So I'm just going to fire off that Magical Meltdown, search out the Alistair the Invoker. We're going to normal summon Alistair the Invoker, and strike. Ah, okay. So, I no Alistair this turn. Alright, sounds good. I'm just gonna flip this Q into attack position. Sorry, I'm gonna decrease the attack, then flip it to attack, and then proceed to battle. At that point, we just go to the end phase after dealing 25, and we're looking pretty good. So they're going to once again activate their Scout, and the reason that I activated Ash Blossom earlier was because I could just do it again. I wasn't really too worried about that. And now they are within striking distance for our Q. So they are going to scale up their stealth, their Cleafort stealth, and I'm going to fire the Maxi in response because otherwise I won't have an opportunity to do that if they so Pendulum Summon, which they do. So they're going to Pendulum Summon out their Carrier, and we draw off of that Maxi a Nadir Servant. I'm going to first fire off the Magical Meltdown that we drew off the top, which they promptly Solemn Judgment. Feels bad, not a lot that you can do about that. But that's a-okay because we have Nadir Servant as follow-up. So I'm just going to fire off that Nadir Servant, hope that it does something. We're going to send Entis, obviously. Entis is going to actually pop the back row. I made sure that we were able to, attack over this guy, or nothing was protecting it from battle. So we're going to special summon out the Ecclesia here. Ecclesia will search out the Fleur-de-Lis. Fleur-de-Lis will then special summon itself and negate the effect of the Carrier because it's funny. It actually doesn't help us. In fact, it hinders us, but it honestly doesn't matter. So we are just going to proceed to battle and clean up the game. There you go. Good game. So how did this deck perform? Honestly, it performed really well. I originally wanted to put Shaddoll in here as well, but I just couldn't find the space. As you can see, we are running 40 cards, and even that was a little bit tight. There was a lot of cards that I was like, oh, we are only playing 2 Allure. We're only playing, 2 Theater. We're only playing 1 Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Maximus. We're, 1 Albaz. There are other cards that we could definitely have fit in here, especially tech cards such as more back row removal, things like Forbidden Droplets, etc. would have been very nice. But all in all, this deck performs really well. Invoked is insane. Invoked Dogmatika is really good. The Despia cards do work really well, seeing as how most of the time you're not even relying on other things like Link summoning or what have you. However, the biggest issue that I find this deck comes up with is having too many normal summons, as well as being reliant on your things specifically being like destroyed while you have a theater on the field, or just being able to have your guys go to the grave is rather important. But all in all, it's still not bad. I think it's probably better if you add the Shaddoll package in here instead of the additional normal summons of something like the Ecclesia or the Invoked. Playing all 3 of the normal summons of the Aluber, the Invoker, and the Ecclesia make it a little bit bricky. I think the best way to incorporate everything would be to just like take out more of these cards, play a over 40 card deck list, and play Shaddoll as well, just so that you have a little bit more options. The biggest problem with that though is the extra deck, so that is something to consider. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated, and if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.